This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, I have a lovely guest on the phone with me today. I interviewed her mom, Diane Franklin, in June of 2017, and now I have her on the phone with me, Miss Olivia DeLaurentis. I hope I said that right. Did I say that right?
DeLaurentis.
There we go.
That's so good. I want a name like the Python Hyena, though.
Oh yeah,
That's a great name.
I like African.
How did that become a thing?
I like African wildlife. And I've always loved snakes, and snakes are one of the most looked down upon creatures on the planet, and yet they kill more rodents and pests than birds of prey and cats.
Wow. Yeah, they do.
Yep. And the spotted hyena, they say the spotted hyena has a stomach like cast iron. They can chew through bone. They get the strongest jaw power of any mammal. And they eat up all the stuff that other animals leave behind.
Yeah, they're the vulture of the mammal world.
There you go. Yep. Absolutely. But
oh man.
Yeah. No, I had your mom on last year, and of course I had her on for the 35th anniversary of The Last American Virgin. I think you told me on a phone call that you'd never seen that movie.
No, I have never seen that. I've actually seen all of her movies except that one in full. So, I've seen every single other one she's done in full. I've seen Better Off Dead beginning to end, maybe close to 700 or 800 times. And then The Last American Virgin is the only one I haven't seen beginning to end, although I've seen bits of it. And I think it just came from me as a kid. Because, I started watching her movies when I was, young, and I knew there were some where she took her top off, and I was like, I don't want to watch my mom's boobs. And I think I kind of avoided that one in Amityville until eventually I saw Amityville at this film festival in England. We got flown out to England to do this, basically just a straight-up Diane Franklin film festival.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and I was like, you know what? I'll just watch the movie. I'll look away from the boobs part, and then I'll look back. And then it was a great movie. It was friggin' scary, and really scary. And then we went to a Last American Virgin screening somewhere in LA a couple years later. But I think I had to go somewhere or something. I don't even know. But we saw the first part of it before her character really legitimately comes into it. So I'll see it one day, but yeah, that's the one.
I remember her telling me that in her career, she said she was willing to go three nude scenes. I forget off the top of my head what the other one was, but
Second Time Lucky.
Second Time Lucky. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
No.
That's actually another one I haven't seen. My first statement was a lie. I also haven't seen Second Time Lucky, but it's just because I didn't watch all the boob stuff. But I think for her, back in when she was really trying to be an actress, it was kind of different for women. Nowadays, it's easier to just become an actress as a woman without taking your clothes off.
Yeah.
But back then it was harder. And she was like, look, I don't want to do it randomly, but if that's the thing I have to do to show someone that I can act, then I'll do it. And so when she did Last American Virgin, she was like, oh, I love this part. I think this is going to be this would be a part that I could kill acting wise. And if this is what I have to do that, then dope. And so, And so she I think that was kind of her attitude. And I'm glad that nowadays that's not necessarily a thing people have to do as much, except for on Game of Thrones, which is a great show, but it's everyone's naked. But yeah, I think she totally killed it because she's like a warrior. She knows what she has to do, and she just does it. And she's the most comically stubborn, headstrong person I've ever met.
Well, you know what? I interviewed her, and I've interviewed Amanda Wiss from Better Off
Oh, I
Dead.
love Amanda.
Oh yeah, I had her on a few years back when she was advertising her movie The Id, and
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I had her and a couple other people from that movie on. So yeah, I'm connected with Amanda on Twitter.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
She's the nicest.
yeah, well, I remember give you a little backstory. I remember she was on Twitter one time, and I shared this with her. She posted a tweet. She said, "Ah, allergies," and to I put to Freddy Krueger, and she put
Oh, that's funny.
she put ha funny. Yeah. So
Yeah, she's so nice. She and my mom and I all went to this thing last year called 80s in the Sand, which is this totally insane event that was like one of the best things I've ever done. It's like this friggin' it's like a week in the Dominican Republic at this
mhm.
resort. And like it's all inclusive and stuff, and like it's just a week of being in the 80s, and they have like 80s actors, and they have like 80s bands come back and do concerts every night, and it's completely, and they have like 11 pools, and there's always like a cover band playing a song. And it was like the first year they did it was last year, and we're going back again this year, and it was the funnest thing straight up ever. Like it was so fun. And then by the time I was back, I was listening. I was in the grocery store, and an 80s song, I think "I Want Candy" or something, came on
Oh yeah.
in the grocery store, and I ran out of the grocery store. I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, I've been listening to this in the final countdown for the last 7 days because the music would start at 10 a.m. and end at like 1 in the morning. And it was so loud that you, like, everywhere in the resort you'd hear it. And I was just like I like punk music. And so it was like not really my style of music, but it was still such a fun event. And everyone in the bands was like amazing. It was so funny.
Yeah, I think your mom said that she and Amanda was going to be there, and Deborah Foreman. I'm trying
Yeah,
right
Deborah
now to
Foreman was supposed to be there.
I'm trying to get her on my show for Valley Girl for this year's
Oh, that's so dope.
35th anniversary. I did get Joanne Barron on, but I don't
Oh,
know.
nice.
Like it's like uh, shooting fish in a barrel trying to get some of these people on. I've been in touch with her, but I don't know. Like I don't bite, but I did
Yeah,
have.
I think it's just everyone's different in terms of like, does this person book through their manager? Does this person book personally? Does this person have an assistant? And you like never know going in
Yeah.
who's going to react to what specifically. But yeah, Deborah Foreman was supposed to go to 80s in the Sand, and then she couldn't last minute or something. But yeah, my mom was like really wanted to meet her.
Oh yeah. Well, I understand through a Facebook post last night she finally got to meet Kelly Maroney, and I had her on my show.
Oh yeah, that's so funny.
I love Kelly. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Fast Times at Ridgemont High because Amanda and Kelly were both in that. But
Yeah.
yeah, you mentioned punk music. Now, do you have any favorite punk
Yeah.
bands?
I've seen the Dead Kennedys in concert 2 or 3 times, which is I've gone to Santa Cruz to see them. I
Mm-hmm.
live in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like so fun live. I mean, Jello's not with them anymore, but like what can you do when you're 22 and you like the Dead Kennedys, but just go anyway. And I met all of them. They were really nice. I went to I love Iggy Pop. I met Iggy Pop at a Buzzcocks concert in the
Mm-hmm.
most crazy way.
Okay.
I was at the Buzzcocks 40th anniversary concert at the Mayan, and like it was like one of those shows where everyone in the mosh pit was like kind of weirdly aggressive, and you were like, oh, someone here is like on like serious drugs and doesn't know where they are, and they're gonna hurt someone for real. Because mosh pits are for the most part like super friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And like there was a couple guys just like straight up punching people, and I was like, all right, well maybe I won't go in there right now. So I go back to where my 2 friends are, and we see this guy dancing, and we're like, oh my god, that's so cool. Like my friend Sarah was like, that's so cool that they let this meth addict in here, and just he's having a great time. And then we looked at him again, and we were like, oh, no, that's Iggy Pop. And because he was like 5'5" and like so skinny with like, his long Iggy Pop hair. You just don't expect to see him right next to you at a concert. And he was next to a guy wearing a shirt with his face on it, who turns out was his bodyguard. And so my friends, Chloe and Sarah, made me like go up, and like we all started dancing with him. And then he and I sang Orgasm Addict to each other. And then by the end of it, we were like all talking to him, and it was just like super cool. And then the way it ended is like, I turned to him and I was like, hey man, like, thank you for being so fucking cool. Like, thank you. And he goes, thank you for keeping punk rock alive. And I was like, well, that wasn't necessary, but I'm probably going to get that tattooed on my body at some point.
You like the Ramones?
Yeah, I love the Ramones.
I love the Ramones. I had
so great.
I had Gord Lewis on here from Teenage Head.
That's so cool.
Yep. I love the movie Class of 1984, and I know that they were in there singing a couple songs in that film, and I had Gord Lewis. I was told if I'm going to contact one of them, contact him. So
right.
I had him on, and that was interesting. Speaking of punk rock, you like the Screeching Weasels?
I don't know them. I'm going to write that down.
Screeching Weasel.
Screeching Weasels.
Yeah.
I feel like it sounds familiar, but I'm going to write that down, because I'm not going to do that thing where I pretend I know something when I don't. It's very easy to go, yeah! And I'm like, I'm done with that part of my life.
There you go.
That's so cool, though.
Yep. And, I was born in the 70s. I would have been 10 years old when The Last American Virgin came out. So I'm very much in touch with it. It's funny because I hear about these anniversaries, and all this music. Like, I loved the movie Rock of Ages because, boy, did that ever take me back in terms of music, And Everybody Wants Some. I went to that movie 9 times in theater, and you want to talk about a soundtrack. Oh, I loved that movie, and it took me way back. Like,
that's awesome.
Yes, I love the nostalgia of music like that. So movies like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, The Last American Virgin, Valley Girl. I love teen movies, especially in the 80s, because they got that music, Risky Business, 16 Candles, you name it.
Yeah.
The music is very, very important. And
yeah.
So
the music's great.
Mm-hmm. But I had a couple of Last American Virgin people on here, so that was great. And it's kind of funny because I was watching your videos with my brother last night, and I couldn't help but laugh. Because in The Last American Virgin, your mom starred alongside Lawrence Monoson. And, of course, Lawrence Monoson, I said to your mom, I said, why wasn't he in The 40-Year-Old Virgin? Because he struck out both in Last American Virgin and in Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. He struck out in both. And I'm sitting there, he lost her to Steve Anton in Last American Virgin. And I'm like, well, he's got to feel even worse now because he lost her to a llama.
Oh, yeah, that video is so nuts. That's just if people are listening and don't know that what you're talking about, what it is that my friend Sarah and I, when we were in high school, like there would be a student film festival every year at our high school, and we were like every year it would be like some, I hate to say it, but like really pretentious thing would win. Like all the movies would be like really like not all of them, but a lot of them would be like like something really dramatic and like just like kind of like forced dramatic and like.
Well, yours was dramatic.
This is a montage about like bulimia, and then but it was just like okay, and I like stuff that's more just like hard comedy, but that never wins festivals ever. But so what we decided to do was we were like, okay, let's make a movie that is one of those movies. And it's a movie about this girl who's like troubled because her dad is like never emotionally connected. He's always emotionally distant, and like no matter what she says or does, like he never really gives her the time of day. And like now her sister's coming home from college, and like it's this big drama thing. And that we did that, and it was an 8-minute little movie, but the only thing you never mention out loud in the whole movie is that the dad is a llama wearing a necktie. And like, so we just rented this baby llama who came to our house for like the whole day. The trainer who was supposed to come with him was like this really sweet guy who was like maybe stoned and kept leaving. And it was just like this totally tame llama. We put my dad's wedding necktie on him. I don't know why that was the tie we chose, but for some reason that was the tie that ended up getting on him, is my dad's actual wedding necktie. And then this llama just hung out in our house for like 10 hours, and we just gave it food and like shot scenes with it. It was like so great. And like also turns out llamas hum when you're nervous. So we kept like being like, all right, and rolling. And then we didn't know who was doing it, but we kept hearing like, and we were like turning to our friend Kyle, who was on set, and being like, Kyle, can you not do that? He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then turns out it was the llama, whose name was Future. His name was Future Llama.
I like the brother who turned out to be the son of the llama.
Oh yeah, Max. Max is so funny. He was like, we were just like, okay, Max, come in and basically do what you do every day of your normal life, and we'll just film it. That character is just kind of how he acts. Like he's not inbred, but he's super funny, and he's such a wacky guy.
Yeah, I enjoyed that, and of course your mom was in this.
Yeah, that was like that's such our family thing though. Like we're like the way I like, okay, first off, nobody's mom goes like, oh yeah, totally bring a llama into our house and I'll do a dramatic scene breaking up with him. Like no one does that. And then second, that's like really, you know, how I kind of got into wanting to make movies, is because like my mom, when I was really, really little, both my parents are like incredibly supportive, and my dad's like one of the funniest people I've ever met in my entire life. He's a comedy writer for like right now a bunch of kids and TV stuff, kids and family TV is what I meant.
Okay.
And so when I was little, my parents, you know, would be like, okay, let's do a different fun thing like every day, like, which is nuts looking back. But they'd be like, okay, today we're going to go on a hike and draw. Okay, today we're going to go to the zoo. Okay, today we're going to make a movie. Okay, today we're going to write a song. And I would just get to experience all these different fun things every day. And because they kind of were like, we want you to know what you want to do, but like before it has to be a big deal. We just want you to like fall in love with something and also just have fun in general. And like I always thought I wanted to be a vet because I loved animals, but it would always be from the standpoint of like, okay, I want to be a vet. Let's make a movie about me being a vet. And like I never realized that like everything I was doing like was always, I'm going to make a movie. I'm going to shoot this on a camcorder and then edit it on my Mac computer when I'm like 9 years old. And I even walked in once when I was in elementary school during my own birthday party of my friends like talking shit behind my back. Like, oh, haven't you noticed that every time we hang out with Olivia, she wants to make a freaking movie? It was like, yeah, fair. Like, no, like to me, I was like, that's what you do. It's like, no one does that. Like, it was very funny looking back, being like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, well. And then I wrote this weird script kind of making fun of all of the like Little House on the Prairie type books we had to read in 6th grade.
Yeah.
And I showed it to my mom and I was like, I want to make this. And it was like 20 minutes long or something. And she was like, great, let's do it. Like, so we went to like Salvation Army and got a bunch of like clothes to match the time period. And I had chickens. We used chickens in the movie. Chickens fit perfectly in Build-A-Bear clothes, by the way, in case you ever needed to dress a chicken. And like, yeah, it was just like every time I would be like, I have this idea, I want to make a movie. My mom would go like, we're doing it. Like, we illegally filmed an entire 30-minute movie on the Queen Mary ship. Like, because my third movie in that series it took place on like a ship coming to America.
Mm-hmm.
And like we like went there. You're not really allowed to film there. You can film home videos. So we went there, rented a room. We were all in costumes that made us look like we were from the 1800s. And I told everyone, if anyone asks what you're wearing, say that you're Amish, which makes no sense because we all had cell phones and video cameras. But we would be filming a scene on like a camcorder, and then if a guard would come by, we'd break from the scene and pretend we were shooting a home video. Like, I would say to the cast, whoever was in the scene, I'd say, okay, everyone, say hi to Grandma, and everyone would turn to the camera and go, hi, Grandma. And we had like 15 people, like all kids, and then like probably 3 parents, and my mom was just like, yeah, that's what we're doing, let's do it. And so I think that's like one of the biggest reasons, A, that I want to make movies, B, that I'm not this crazy, is just because I got like the support of objectively an insane person, even though that's in the best possible way. Like the best possible way. Insane is not an insult. It means like out of the box is a better way to say it.
Well, you've done a lot of videos with Sara Chocolate.
Wait, what?
It's Sara. Is it Chocolate?
Oh, Sara Crossway. Yeah,
Crossway.
I thought you said Derek Chocolate.
No.
I don't think I've ever done a video with Derek Chocolate.
I seen her pop up in a few. You know, of course, she's the one who's distressed about her dad, the llama, not connecting with her. You know, and
yeah, she and I did the llama movie together. She was my my college roommate for a bunch of years, and we were friends in high school. And then Sidney, who's my comedy partner, Sidney Heller, like we also went to high school together. I had this weird thing where most of my really, really, really close friends I met in high school because we all went to high school in California, and then a weird amount of us went to UCLA. But yeah.
Well, there was one you did with Sara that I thought was really funny, and I loved her delivery on this. It's the one where you don't see you on camera, but it's the one where you wake up from a coma, and all your parents are looking over you, and
that's so funny.
You burst out of there.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
You burst out of there, and you're trying to piece everything together. And there's your mom, and is that your dad that's in the car with her?
Probably.
Okay, one of them,
like kind of like a broad-shouldered Italian man.
I don't know. He had a soccer ball, and your mom had a chicken.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, and she had a chicken, and you're like, go away. And finally, you run into Sara, and you're like, oh, I know what happened, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I loved her delivery. She says something along the...
That's so funny.
Yeah, she like...
Yeah, that was actually we had to make like a 1 minute or 1 minute 30-second admission film for our Chapman application, and I ended up going to UCLA, but I almost went to Chapman, and that was like the thing I turned in, is because we were supposed to say something about ourselves like in a minute and 30 seconds, and I always hate making things that are like supposed to be meaningful and short, because I'm like, I like building stuff up to make it meaningful, and I'm like, oh, it always feels like cheap kind of when it's really short, to me at least. And so I had this like, oh, I don't want to do this, and then I ended up doing it in terms of like, I think it was my dad and I came up with like, do it as you're like waking up from a coma and you don't remember anything about yourself, because then you'll did my dad say, here's your soccer ball, you hate soccer?
Yeah. Yeah,
that's so funny. I haven't seen that in forever.
Oh yeah,
that's hilarious.
Sara gave a great delivery. Goes, that was so close. Let's take you back to the institution or something.
To the hospital.
I love that delivery.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's very her too. And then the guy, you know, the doctor at the beginning, when I'm waking up from the hospital, is actually the guy. His name is Cinco Paul. He was my old improv coach in high school, and he's the guy who wrote all the Despicable Me movies.
Yeah, were you Despicable Me?
Yeah. And so it was just like the funniest, like weird cameo because he's like the best guy ever.
Oh,
But
yes,
he was my improv coach. I was like, Cinco, would you dress up like a doctor for 45 seconds and just film this clip? And he was like, okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that you and Sidney give him like blank page scripts.
Oh yeah.
I like this. This looks
Yeah.
like a sideways flower, but we're getting places.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
I watched all this stuff last night, you know.
So funny.
Getting ready for this.
He's the absolute best. You know, oh my God, there was behind the scenes of the high school murder mystery. That's so funny. Yeah, he was like, we just like asked him for notes, and he was like, yeah, no. We just kept giving him ridiculous stuff and telling him to improvise, and he's such a good guy. Like, he's the best person. I love him so much.
Well, there's a couple.
He's like everyone I went to high school with. He's their second dad, basically.
Well, there's a couple of your videos I definitely want to touch on. One, I love the one where you're called the banana racist.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was so weird. Once again, that was me kind of hating the assignment. We had to do like a minute-long video or a minute-and-a-half-long video at UCLA about like what we've learned at UCLA so far. And I like hated that because I hate when people ask me what I've learned because it always feels like, I don't know, it always feels like that you're being held at knife point. Like, what have you learned? And then also like, I didn't want to make anything cheesy or like meaningful. So I was like, okay, well, realistically, one of my friends and I had a joke where we were like, for some reason, everyone at UCLA walks around with a banana. This is true. Like, this is the true thing. Everybody has a banana, straight up, always. Like, I don't know why. I don't know. But my friend and I would always say on the phone to each other, like, no matter what we were saying, if we pass someone with a banana, we'd just interrupt our own sentence with the word banana. So we'd be like, yeah, I'm moving up the banana stairs right now, and banana, like, because we were like, it's insane. So I was like, I might as well just make that into like a stupid video and try to do it in like a tone of like almost like a fake Discovery Channel thing. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. I just went around filming like a bunch of people with bananas. And literally, I didn't, like, people asked me afterwards, like, oh, were those your friends? Like, did you like hire people? And it's like, first off, okay, I am very flattered that you think I have 100 friends, especially my freshman year of UCLA. That is great. But second, like, no, I just filmed a bunch of people, and like, I only put it online because my friend Andre was like, hey, I want to see that one more time. And I was like, all right. And I put it online, and then like it got like mini viral really, really fast. It got like, I don't know, like 50,000 views or something.
One of the things I found funny is where you mentioned this. I thought was hilarious. Where you said, I don't know when the last time I seen somebody peel an orange, and it shows you burning an orange on the ground.
I tried to peel an orange the other day, but it's been so long since I've seen someone do it. I completely forgot how to do it. And then it's just like an orange on fire on the ground. The weirdest part about that was I had like that was like during a very busy day. And at a certain point, I was like, okay, guys, what's next on my schedule is like, I have to go to my house and set an orange on fire. Like, that's what I have to do now. And so I like drove to Agora and like literally lit an orange. Like, I had to put paper towels under it and like cover it with lighter fluid. It really didn't light that easily. But I think actually if you look at it, I think the flames are all around the orange instead of on it, because it was the paper towel underneath it that was being lit, because it's so hard to light an orange on fire. I really didn't know. Of all the weird things.
My favorite video you did, and man, your comic timing was great on this, was the one where you're up late at night studying and every university possible is calling you.
Oh, yeah, the recruitment calls.
That was fantastic. I loved that. I watched that twice.
That's so funny. Yeah, I remember, like, and it's funny because a lot of the, like, when you are a senior, you have all these weird colleges calling you, and like, I get it that they're paid to like do recruitment calls, but it always just feels really unnatural. Like whenever someone you don't know who works at a university is calling you and asking like how your day is going, it's always just kind of like it's just something unnatural about it because they do have a certain amount of time they have to ask you about your day before they're allowed to go into the pitch. Like I have friends who have worked in that kind of a position, and they have to have like 2.5 minutes of small talk before they go into the pitch. And so it always just felt like weird colleges were like hitting on you.
Yeah.
And it was like, that'd be a funny metaphor if like I was just getting a bunch of calls from colleges, but they were all just kind of like different people hitting on me. And it was, at that point, I think I was 18 when I made that, so no one had ever hit on me. So like it was all from my imagination.
You know what? The best part about it was when the guy called from Party College or something like that, and he belched into the phone, and just your reaction was perfect.
You know who I'm almost 100% sure that was? Because I haven't seen this video in like a while, but I think that was Max, the kid who plays the Llama brother.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he's very funny.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I watched a bunch of your videos, and
That's so nice.
And of course, sugar babies. How do you know Sidney Heller? And you two have a great chemistry together.
Thank you. Yeah, Sidney. So Sidney was a year older than me at Agora High School. We were both in the comedy sports improv team where Cinco Paul was the coach, and Sara was on it too. And actually, most of my friends are from that. And it was like short form improv. So you do like, a 4-minute improv scene, and then the second team of 4 kids would do another improv scene. And so like Sidney and I were on that team together, and I always was like, oh my God, this girl is like the funniest person I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I was, she was like cool and older, and like, I mean, she was a year older, but when you're in high school, that matters. And, we never really got put on the same team to improvise because like Cinco was like, no one will get a chance to talk. Like you guys have to be on opposing teams always, because if you guys are on the same team, you guys will just talk the whole time and no one else will ever get to talk. And you're like, okay, fair. Like there were a couple people, like my friend Kyle, he didn't let me ever be on a team with Kyle because he was like, if you and Kyle are in the same scene, the subject matter will get too dark and too creepy too fast. And like, this is for kids. But yeah, Sidney and I were always like friends, but it was mostly kind of, friends within a group of larger friends. And then she went to UCLA, and then the next year I graduated, and I found out I got into UCLA, and I called her. I was like, what should I do? Should I go here? Should I go to Chapman? And she was like, come here, and you and I are going to be comedy partners. And I was like, okay. And so, yeah, so then we just kind of like, now we've known each other for like 8 years. And it's kind of this thing where like we started off doing sketches because we thought that it was like fun, and we came up with just like a bunch of fun little sketches. And then at a certain point we were like, let's start doing them more regularly. And then we wanted to make a web series because we were like, we just came up with this idea for Sugar Babies, and then like halfway through making that web series, we got represented by a management company called Omnipop, and they like found our stuff. I mean, like we had a mutual connection, and then after seeing our stuff, they were like, oh, cool, we want to represent you guys. And we were like, all right. Because I hadn't acted forever, like since I was a little kid, like I did kid acting. But and then we just kind of started making more stuff and then pitching kind of some ideas around to different people at different places, and we're still kind of doing that. But yeah, it's fun. Sugar Babies is like one of my favorite things to do. It was like the funnest.
Well, some of my favorite episodes of it, and I watched a whole lot of them last night, but I love the one where you and her are both playing males, and you had the fake beard drawn on your face. You've got the unibrow, and you guys are like doing male slang, like talking about women that you claim they're not that hot when you, of course.
Yeah, that's one of our sketches on Barely Legal. Yeah, the
Oh, that's Barely Legal. Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Barely Legal is our comedy duo, and then Sugar Babies is the web series.
Okay.
So with that sketch, though, it's this weird thing where, like, we're friends with a lot of guys. Like, most of my friends are guys, and, like, you'll hear them or their friends every once in a while say something really dumb, like something like, well, I mean, Kendall Jenner isn't even hot. Like, they'll say something like that. And it's like, okay, you can say, like, I don't really like Kendall Jenner as a celebrity. Like, I don't like what she stands for. I feel like I wouldn't like her as a person. Sure. You can say, Kendall Jenner's really not my type. I'm into girls who are, like, curvier or something. But she's really beautiful. But you can't say Kendall Jenner's not that hot. Because realistically, you are, like, a guy who's, like, 26 smoking weed on a couch being, like, so ugly. Like, if Kendall Jenner even passed you on the street, A, she would never talk to you. And B, if she did, you'd freak out. Like, you would be so happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just this kind of thing of, like, this unnecessary putting women down to make themselves feel better thing that we thought was so ridiculous. Like people being like, oh, dude, yeah, like, I'd never have sex with Miley Cyrus. Like, she's so gross. It's like, yes, you would. Like, you 100% would. And so, like, we were just joking about that and saying, like, how these really, usually, like, the guys who do it are the guys who are, like, either the nerdiest or grossest guys who you're like, they would never even talk to you. And so we decided to, like, kind of make fun of that and be two guys sitting on a couch going back and forth about female celebrities being like, oh, man, like, Lupita Nyong'o is, like, so disgusting, dude. I'd rather, like, die in a fire than even look into her eyes. Like, and it just gets more and more specific. And then we did a bit where at a certain point in the sketch, I think, like, halfway through, we get grosser every time you cut to us.
Yep.
So, like, at a certain point, like, I'm covered with acne. Sidney has, like, a unibrow. And then you cut back to me, I have, like, a bloody nose. And you cut back to Sidney, and she has, like, a paper bag over her head. It's just silly. Like, and then at the end, they interact with, like, a very unattractive girl who's their Postmates. And they both freak out because they talk to a girl for the first time. And, like, that was played by our friend Johnny wearing a wig.
Yeah, they couldn't even tell.
Yeah, it was our friend Johnny wearing a bad wig.
Yeah.
It was, like, the worst wig I had in my wig box.
He had natural beard.
Yeah, he had a real, like, legitimate facial hair. Terrible wig.
Yep.
I don't remember if we put any makeup on him or not, but I don't think we did.
That one there I enjoyed, and another one I liked was 7 types of women after a breakup. I love the part where you're covered in blood.
Thank you. I love being covered in blood. If it's up to me, I will always be covered in blood, or I'll be, like, something happening with, like, I don't know. I love dark humor. And so, yeah, the whole joke with that was we were like the one who pretends nothing is wrong, and Sydney's like, hey,
Sydney's not getting it.
Okay? Yeah, I'm, like, completely covered in blood. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm fine. What are you talking about? You're like, she's like, did you talk to him? And I'm like, oh yeah, we're fine. I'm fine. It's like I totally killed someone, but yeah, I'm happy that, I don't think a lot of girls get to do a lot of really, really dark stuff unless it's kind of female related.
Yeah.
Which I think like that's kind of what I want to try to do more, is like stuff that's just, like my favorite show is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I love that. And I love, like, I don't know, like I'm making a feature right now about kidnapping and Disney shows, and it's a comedy. So hopefully, like, yeah, my goal is just kind of like to
We'll get to your feature in just a minute, but I know one thing we talked about, and I got to bring this out in the open here.
Yeah.
I was really like, everybody celebrates Jerry Lewis, and here's the thing about Jerry Lewis. From what I understand through stuff I've read and interactions and whatnot, I heard he was not a pleasant person to be around.
What, a comedian?
Yeah.
Really?
And
a comedian was unpleasant?
Well, here's the thing, with Jerry Lewis. Apparently, he was quoted as saying that women cannot be funny, and I'm like, Really? Like, screw you, guy.
Yeah, I mean, look, it makes sense because like old people usually have old opinions, and like, it's not a thing that I'd be like, yeah, but because also making a general statement about that is like very like strange in general. It's just being like that's an entire half of the population. That's like, have you met every single one? But yeah, I mean, I just think that a lot of people in the entertainment industry, especially a lot of comedians, are kind of pretty dark people. And so, like TJ Miller said the same thing. He said, like, I love women and I respect women, but the thing about women is they just can't be quite as funny as men. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to get offended by that because you're like a dark guy. Like, I don't care if that's your opinion. Like, I'm not going to you for a comedy job necessarily. And I wouldn't because you don't think women are funny. And so that wouldn't even be a strategic point, like, the thing to do. But yeah, I think that like a lot of people just have kind of their own problems, and and I think also a lot of people are really ignorant until they learn otherwise. Like, I definitely have had kind of ignorant perspectives when I was younger, just from not being around certain things. And then you grow up and you go like, oh no, I can change my first opinion. Cause like, I used to think because I was treated so well, like when I was like in like middle school, I was like, what are all these people asking for women's rights? Like, women have rights. I have so many rights. Like when I was in like 6th grade. And then I was in like 8th grade and I was like, oh, I see what they mean. Like, and as long as you can kind of, when you experience new things, open your eyes and go like, oh, okay, right, I just hadn't experienced that yet. So I was reacting in a way that would make sense. Like, if Jerry Lewis has never met a woman that like he thought was funny, like, sure, I guess it's probably not a very nice thing to say out loud. But yeah, I mean, I just think like, you want to people like that. I think the best way to come at it is with like kind of compassion, being like, look, I get that this is probably not about anything other than like your own deal and like what you've experienced and everything, and like, you have the ability to kind of open people's minds a little bit when you're understanding of the fact that like, I don't know, I guess forgiving. I'm also too forgiving as a person, so that might not even be a good tip. But that's yeah, I don't know. I've definitely heard that it just gets old. I think hearing that gets old. Like, people still say that all the time. People in improv teams go like, oh yeah, well, women aren't as funny. It's like, oh cool, I haven't heard that like 30 times today already. Like, it just feels like almost so old that it's like I don't even take it in.
TJ Miller said that?
In an interview one time. Yeah, it was like a light version of that, but it was
like,
something to the effect of like, yeah, he's a really funny guy.
And he was in Office Christmas Party. You know how many funny women were in that? I mean, Kate McKinnon, Jillian Bell.
Yeah, Kate McKinnon's Jillian Bell. I love her.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like,
no, it's but at the end of the day, it's like one person's opinion, even if they are a person you look up to, even if they are a person who's really funny, like, it has nothing to do, it's just about them. Like, it's just about whatever their weird, messed up life has, like, dealt them. Yeah, no, I think that, like, I mean, you can't live in an actual world where Tina Fey exists and say that, like, because it's wrong. Like,
yep.
Like, I mean, obviously she's like the go-to when everyone says funny women, but it's because she's really friggin' funny. She's like, and she's a funny actress. Like, she's a really funny actress, but she's like one of the most genius writers like ever. Like, she's so genius.
Well, even back in the day, like Lucille Ball, or even more recent,
Yeah.
Lily Tomlin, people like that were hilarious.
Gilda Radner.
Gilda Radner, yeah, absolutely. Like, I think Jerry Lewis had his head up his ass when he said that. I'm sorry, but
I also think a lot of guys, and this is going to sound, I'm going to alienate the Meninist audience right now. If anyone is listening. But I think a lot of people, if you're used to getting something and then someone else also gets it, you feel threatened. And I think that can happen a lot of the time if a guy's a comedian and he's insecure about his own comedy or something. And look, most comedians are insecure. You could pretty much guarantee I'm going to go with 99% of them are deeply insecure. Like, it's just like a thing. And like, if they see a woman that's funny and they're a gay comedian and people are like, oh, haha, that's funny, they're going to attack it because we're all animals and that's what we do when we feel scared is we attack or we run. But yeah, I definitely think that, you know, it's just like, I think the most important thing to do with people who have opinions like that is just, you know, don't take them seriously.
No.
You know, because then it's just your energy being wasted.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? My big girl crush right now is Emma Stone. Mm-hmm. Not only do I think Emma Stone is hot, but I think she's also funny.
Yeah, she's great. She's very cool. I am a staunch fighter for the fact that Easy A is a very good movie.
Yep, I agree.
I think it got a lot of hate from some people I'm friends with on like the internet or whatever, but I think it's really was one of the first movies I saw that kind of expressed high school correctly.
Yep.
And I thought that was refreshing, and I thought she was very funny and very likable in it.
Anna Kendrick's another one I think is funny.
Yeah, she's really funny.
And I think they're both attractive too, you know. So.
Yeah, she's very cool. She's like they're all. I mean, like I'm very much in the mindset of like anybody who is working as like an actress or a comedian or something or a writer has done a lot of work to get there and has been rejected like a crazy, comically nutso amount of times. Mm-hmm. And like I just respect kind of everyone, unless they're like full-blown racist. If they're a person who's just like, hi, I'm a racist, I'm like, okay, never mind then. But I really do think that a lot of people don't, like, you know, like even just like looking at any normal actress and you're like, okay, the amount of times she has been probably put down and rejected and had to be like, nope, let's keep going is like a crazy amount of times. It's like every day. And then to keep going and actually have a career is like, that's so kick-ass.
Who are your favorite comedians, past and present?
Ooh, good question. So a lot of my favorite comedians, male comedians, also filter into my like biggest like celebrity crushes because I have never had celebrity crushes on like normal guys. But my biggest forever. I don't know if you've ever seen Flight of the Conchords, but Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords was like one of my massive comedic influences in terms of like humor being awkward and then ridiculous. Like I think he's just like so genius. And then I love Gene Wilder.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm obsessed with Gene Wilder.
Young Frankenstein.
He's like amazing. Yeah, Young Frankenstein, the producers. I've seen every single Gene Wilder movie, even the ones he was like just in for like a second. Like I watched the whole because I've got problems. That was like a weird.
He was brilliant in Young Frankenstein.
That. Yeah, and he wrote it.
Yep.
And then I'm obsessed. I love Charlie Day. I think his comedy and all of his stuff as an actor is so like he's a really funny writer too, but he's just I think one of the most likable funny actors like that has ever existed. Like I think he's so funny.
Loved him in Horrible Bosses.
Yeah. It's oh god, he's so funny. Who else? I mean, I love Tina Fey. Mm-hmm. She's like just like totally genius. And then like I don't know. There's I love in terms of like shows that have been my inspirations and stuff too. It's like Arrested Development. I love that show. It's like one of like the first like you know. I mean, it's so good. It's just so funny. Like, and the jokes are so well written, and like 30 Rock is so well written, and it's just like it's good. It's all.
My favorite growing up was Married with Children.
Wait, what?
My favorite growing up was Married with Children. That was my favorite sitcom. Married with Children.
That's awesome.
Yep. But No, I watched a bunch of the Sugar Babies, and some Barely Legal, and love the Barely
Oh,
Legal one where you guys are trying to get into the club and the guy's not letting you in, and
oh yeah, Brett Bayonne. You know,
uh,
what's funny is that at a certain point, we needed a like an adult man driver's license who looked like neither of, and so like we needed like on the day, and our friend Sammy was like, my dad has an expired one, and so we used her dad's license, and I still have it in my wallet, like where my ID is supposed to be, like. So if I ever take my ID out of the normal slot, it's just Sammy's dad's ID, and I start to panic because I go like, wait, they're not going to believe that this is me. Because it's not. It's an adult man.
yeah. Well, you mentioned that you get a feature film in the works. Talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so basically, when I was in, like, middle school and high school, the thing that I would do, oh my gosh, my guinea pig is so cute. I'm sorry, he's trying to take a twig into, like, through a hole that it's too big for, like the classic dog on a bridge video.
Okay.
Anyway, when I was in middle school and high school, I would make these, like, 20 to 30, and one of them was like 45-minute long movies that I would write the script for, and then we'd cast it, and then I'd direct it, and I'd usually act in it. And then we would finish it, and we'd have a screening at our house and all that jazz, and then I would put it in film festivals and stuff. And we did like the LA Film Festival student section, and like I was like in the Soho Film Festival and all that jazz, and like it was just fun because I got to go to a couple different places. Like I got to go to New York, and I got to go to London, and it was like, oh, heck yeah. And that was all a blast. And then basically, like, you know, when you're in college, all this stuff changes, and like I was going through like a bunch of weird life stuff I hadn't gone through yet. And so I kind of stopped doing it. And then I was in a screenwriting class, and we had to write a feature, and I hadn't really written anything on my own in a really long time because, like, you know, Sidney and I were doing a bunch of stuff, and she was kind of keeping me like afloat. And I wrote this idea about basically this this cast of a Disney, like a bad old Disney show, that gets like 8 years later, they're all trying to escape their lives. It's like the equivalent of like how like Rebecca Black would have been had she not turned to like an anti-bullying campaign, or like, you know, how like The Room would have been treated, like, you know. Yeah. And in the first act, the idea is they all get kidnapped by a super fan who makes them recreate the what are you talking? Oh, sorry. My mom is just like being weird. He makes them recreate the show in his basement. And so that's kind of like what it's about. And so I wrote that, and then I rewrote it basically like, you know, 300,000 times, because when I was out of school, like I graduated a quarter early, I was just like, oh, I'm going to do a bunch more drafts on this. And I didn't really know where I wanted to go direction-wise, because I was kind of going in, like, I think too many directions at the same time, kind of being like, well, what if I try to do this, and I try to do this, and I try to do this, and I wasn't really putting 100 into any of it. And then my mom kept being like, look, her friend Kimberly Cates, who was actually the other princess in Better Off, in Bill and Ted's with her.
Okay.
I played like princess sisters. She was like, look, Kim like produces movies now. And I had kind of been in this situation where I was going to like a bunch of different people, and like for meetings and stuff, and they'd always be like, oh, we absolutely love you, bye. And then we'd never hear from them again, which is totally normal. But it was the first time I was experiencing it. So I was a little kind of defeated, and I felt like my mom being like, oh, Kim wants to read your script, she really wants to read your script, she thinks all your videos are funny. Like I was like, yeah, but that's probably just like everything else, is not going to turn into anything. So I waited like another month before actually being like, okay, fine, because I was so like, I'm never, you know, like being dramatic and being 21, being like, I'm never going to do anything, I'm never going to get anywhere. And So I was like, okay, I rewrote the script one more time, and I sent it over to Kim, fully expecting like another like, oh my God, that's so fun, that's so great, you're so great, bye, and because that's what's normal, and like you have to go through like 300,000 of those before you know, have one even vague success. And Kim read the script and was like, all right, let's do it. And I was like, what? And she was like, let's do it. You want to direct it? And I was like, yeah, is that an option? And I think it was just kind of this amazing thing, because for the last like 4 years, I hadn't really fully actually legitimately believed in myself like I used to in high school. And I kind of like lost that. And then Kim just being like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. I believe in you. I like immediately got it back. I was like, oh, great. Here we go. Let's make the movie. That's what I'm good at. Like, I can do that. And so then we've just kind of launched into that. She's with this company called Big Screen Entertainment. And they produce a lot of like action films and stuff. And so she basically told me to do some cuts on the script, like make it, rewrite it. And I was like, oh my God, yay. And then we're doing like, just all of this stuff to kind of be in pre-production for it. And she has like these investors and stuff. And so, I'm not really as much on the business side, but I'm doing everything creative I can. Like I'm making like a schedule and all that jazz. But yeah, and so it basically, it's like now I'm like on a high again about that, because I love the idea of the movie so much. And I think it also kind of has kind of a good message. And we just did a read through yesterday for it. And yeah, we're supposed to start shooting in like March, I think. I don't know. That's what Kim said. That's what the press release said. So,
Sidney go be in it?
Like, what?
Sidney go be in it?
Yep. Sidney and me.
Sara gonna be in it?
And I don't think so, but my mom's going to.
Oh wow!
So
I'll go see it. I'll go see it if Diane's in it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So that'll be really cool, because I do think, a lot of the time when you're young, people want you to be like a YouTube influencer, or like, something that's just like a little bit more millennial. Like, they want you to be like an Instagrammer or something. And I had kind of thought about being like, okay, I guess I have to do that to ever be able to, have enough recognition to like write and direct stuff. And to the people who do that, that's awesome for them, like, because they're good at it. But it's just so not my personality. Like, I'm so not that it was really a relief to kind of go like, oh, you know what? Instead of trying to go all of these more like quote unquote, like, I don't know, like the ways that people would kind of want you to go if you were like a young person who wanted to get into comedy, they'd be like, oh, cool. Well, yeah, like become an influencer or whatever, which is dope. But it's just, it wasn't the way I wanted to go. It was the way other people kind of said, like, maybe you should do this. And it was cool to just kind of feel like, oh, you know what? I don't need to like work on being famous or work on like having money. I can just do this because this is what I want to do. And if it fails, great, because at least I'm doing the thing that I want to do. And, you're always going to fail at stuff, and you have to keep going. That's like the whole point. So yeah.
You'll put Amanda in it?
I'd love to. Yeah. She has some movie right now, but I don't know what she's doing, but I would love to have her in it. She's like very, very fun and funny and great.
Wow. Yeah, I was watching, I don't know how many of your videos I watched. It got to the point where my brother was like, we already watched this one.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I was going right through it last night. In fact, I got your Barely Legal and your Sugar Babies mixed up, obviously, but...
Oh, they're very similar words. They're both almost sexual. In fact, when I tell people like about the web series Sugar Babies, I always go like, hey, look up Barely Legal Comedy Sugar Babies, but keep the word comedy in there, Because if you just look up barely legal sugar babies, you're going to get something way different.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, the amount of people who have tried to look me and Sidney up after like meeting us at a restaurant or something and then just found porn is probably like so many people.
Yeah.
The thing is, we're not even barely legal anymore. Now I'm 22 and she's 23, but we made it when we were 18 and 19, and we were like, we're going to do edgy stuff that's like barely allowed, and then we're also very young, so let's name it barely legal. And now I'm like 22, having to explain to people like, yeah, I know it sounds like porn. Like, I'm sorry, I just look it up. It's not, the content's not okay. Like,
it's funny, folks. I was all through it last night. But your movie, are you nervous about doing a feature?
You know, yes and no, because I have done this before. You know, like I've done this kind of a thing before, but I've made it like I've done like a 45-minute movie before, which is like, you know, half of the length of this.
It's about the size of it's about the size
Yeah.
of a Buster Keaton movie, like Sherlock Jr.
Yeah.
I think was something like that. So there you go.
Yeah, and like, so it's like it's not like I've never ever done anything like this before, but it's the first time I'll have done anything to this level, and also the first time I'll have done this in a while. So on that note, I am nervous on some level that it'll all be, you know, like, because you know things are going to go wrong. Like, I'm showing up, I'm in it, I'm directing it. You know that, like, someone's going to not show up one day, or the camera's going to break one day and stuff. And I just think that, you know, I know it'll happen and I know it'll get done, but I think I'm maybe mildly nervous in my own, like, I know I have to, before we start shooting, like, up my own self-confidence again even more, because not like cockiness, but just like belief in like, no, you've done this, you can do this, it's okay. Because I do get overwhelmed very easily. Like I really do. And it's not so much that I get overwhelmed on a set, but I'm also like a people pleaser, and I want to make sure everyone's having a good time. So like, if like, we will be like paying people this time, like unlike when I've done stuff before, which is awesome, because it'll probably make me feel a little bit less like everyone wants to go. But, you know, I always, like, if we're shooting a scene and I know it's taking too long and I know someone's not happy, I will feel that so hard. And so that to me is, I think, what I'm the most nervous about, is that I kind of need to take it out of like worrying about every single thing on set and just focus on making the thing. And if I can do that, I can totally do it. But, you know, sometimes you need a little bit of help for that. I just want to make sure people are treated well. I'm like very obsessed with that. Like, I need to make sure everyone's enjoying it, having a good time. And obviously that's not always going to be the case, but like, I that's the thing that like, that could be my enemy. It's like, you know, rushing through a scene because I'm worried that people aren't having a good time. And it's like, that's the thing I need to get over before we shoot. But at the same time, I've gotten over enough things in my life that I think I can.
Are you taking tips from Tommy Wiseau in The Room?
No, not at all. But like, talk about like, weirdly a person who is very admirable.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, I think one of the biggest things that stops people is fear of rejection, or the first time you get, you know, kind of told you can't do something. And there's a couple of people, like, my family and I watch the show Ghost Adventures, like, religiously. We think it's so just like entertaining. The guys' personalities are so funny. And like, these guys are like, we want to hunt ghosts. And then there's no way everyone in their life was like, that sounds great. Like, you know, there's no way. And then they went like, no, you know what? We want to hunt ghosts, and we're going to make a living off of it. And then they did. And like, those are the kind of people that weirdly inspired me a lot, because I go like, yeah, I mean, there's people who did amazing things that I would want to do, but they were kind of on track to do it, or they were kind of given you know, it wasn't that hard for them to do it. And I'm kind of just, I love those people who it's like, yeah, like Tommy Wiseau, friggin', like, he's like doing his thing. He's making another movie. And it's like, great. Because at the end of the day, it's like that, you know, like, it's all about doing the thing you want to do, unless that thing is hurting other people. But if it's not, then like, go for it. And if you can push forward and do the thing that's your dream, it's like, do it. Like, that's awesome.
He was my first interview.
Yeah.
He was my first interview.
I that's the funniest thing. And he's just like a total mystery, right?
Yep.
It's amazing. Like,
even Howard Stern couldn't get information out of him.
Wait, is he on Howard Stern? Is that a thing I can look up?
He was on with James Franco promoting the Disaster Artist.
Oh, I'm going to try to look that up because that's so funny.
Because Howard's like, I'll get this out of him. I'll get this out of him. He didn't.
That's so good. Yeah, no, it's just like a total punk thing of just like, all right, I literally don't care what you think. Mm-hmm. Which is really, I think that's really admirable. Yep. Although I would be afraid to be like a woman in this movie because he's just naked. But besides that part, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, but no, he was my first interview, and I just kind of landed that just by chance, you know, through somebody else, and it was just like, who else can I interview? And here you are. I think you're number 238.
Boom.
Yeah, it's like, boy, I'm enjoying this. And I went to my first convention last year. I don't know if you know where I'm located here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. But
yeah, I'm not the most well read on the map of Canada in general, but my brother went to, where did he go? Quebec and Montreal? He went to Domaine Forget, wherever that is. It's a big orchestra camp.
I have no idea where it is.
Yeah, it's like somewhere near Quebec, I think.
Okay. Well, I went to Toronto last year for my first time, and one of my interview guests invited me to assist her at her table at one of the conventions. Oh, cool. Yeah, and I'm going back again this year. It was the first time I was in a plane or any of that stuff. So
that's so. Wait, what did you just say?
My first time the first time I was ever in a plane.
Really?
Yep. And I'm 46 years old.
When? So that was last year?
Yep, last November.
Whoa. That's so crazy.
Yeah, well, when you get invited by an actress you like to assist her at her table.
Yeah. And
spend cool amounts of time with her, you know, I'm like, yeah, Lisa Langlois invited me, and I was like, I gotta do this, you know, and my father was like, it'll cost you money. Like, I had the money. I had to go. I wasn't going to turn that down.
So funny. I love planes. I know that's a really weird sentence, but I just, like, when I was a little kid, I was always obsessed with airports.
Oh, yeah? I know. I saw your chicken video. I saw your chicken. I was
just like, what?
I saw your chicken video.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, wow. Yeah, I'm also obsessed with chickens because I had 5 chickens when I got them in 6th grade, and I was just obsessed with chickens, and they're great animals. Like, if you hand raise them, they know their names and shit. Like, they're, like, great.
Yeah.
We, like, dress them up for movies and stuff, and, yeah, they're great. They're just good. I really want to have them again, but I have to find a place where I can be legally zoned to have them.
Yeah. But you know what? I admire the fact that you're pushing for the female comedy thing, because you know what? I there's a lot of funny male comedians out there, but I'll tell you, I love seeing movies where women can branch out, and I hate it when movies just have the woman be the love interest, because it's so flat.
Or the wet blanket.
Or the wet
there's
blanket.
A lot of really funny guy comedies. Mm-hmm. The point of the woman is to be like, well, don't do that, because it's like, oh, the woman's a straight man, but it's just like, give them something funny to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that because I want to like write and direct stuff too, specifically comedy stuff, I think a lot of women are not really given a chance to write and direct unless it's drama and it's about being a woman.
Yeah.
And I think like, I mean, that's great, but that's so not on any level me, and it never ever will be. If I say something about being a woman, it's going to be in a dark, funny way. And I think that also just like, I don't know, I think we just need to normalize women working in comedy and like not have it be so like, oh, well, she does female comedy, because it's not, that's weirdly, you know, it's not equal. It's like if a person is like, you know, true equality isn't really what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people, minorities and women, are getting voices, but the voices they come with like a condition. You know, it's like, okay, well, you're Indian, great. We'll give you a show, but it has to be about being Indian, or it has to be about being trans, or, you know, like, and it's not for every single thing, but for the most part, that's kind of like they're looking not for female voices, but for female voices to talk about being female. And like, that's going to alienate a lot of audience members. Like, I don't like watching that kind of stuff, because I'm like, no, I have to deal with being female all the time. Can't I just watch something funny? I think when we get to a point where a woman can make It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, or a woman can make Young Frankenstein, you know, something that's just purely funny for the point of being funny, and it's just someone's voice and it's funny, I think that's equality. And,
I want to see a female Monty Python.
Yeah, freaking female Monty Python. Like, yes, please.
Yes.
Like, and you don't have to make every joke be like, I have a tampon. Like, that's like so old.
Or
like,
a female Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, literally. That's like so. Yeah, it's like, okay. Ultimately, if a guy can hit another guy in the head with a bat and put a pie in his face, that doesn't really depend on that being a guy. It could just be two chicks doing it, or a guy and a girl, and like, cool. Or like they could both be friggin' like, you know, anything. Like, so I think we just need to, like, it's good that people who are women and minorities are, like, you know, being given a voice, but I do think that we need to let them have whatever voice they want to have, not just be like, okay, it has to be about the fact that you're a minority.
I need to bring something up to you. And I absolutely, after watching all of your videos last night, I knew I had to bring this up to you.
Okay.
And I think you would be great doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned comedians have a dark side, and it's unfortunately we lost Robin Williams to suicide.
Yeah.
And depression is something that's never taken seriously.
Exactly, yeah.
And I battled with it, not to the point of suicide, mind you, but I battled with it. It just kind of sneaks up on you. And
no, I mean, it's an actual illness. Like, you know, it's like a physical illness would be. It's like, oh, my back pain's acting up today. You know, like it's not a mood. It's a problem. It's health.
Yep. But after the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge was a hit, one came up after Robin Williams passed. It was called the Doubtfire Face Challenge. And it was for suicide and depression awareness. And it involved a person videoing themselves, taking a pie in the face, and nominating 3 people. I did this, and I threw it out to people I interviewed because I wanted to get the industry involved.
That's cool. I like that.
Well,
yeah, I'm so into that.
Lisa Langlois did it, you know. She was in the class of 1984. Nancy McLaughlin from Friday the 13th Part 6 did it. And she even had a bunch of props from the movie out there.
That's so funny.
And I've had a bunch of indie performers do it as well. I had an author that I'm still in touch with do it. I am trying to get people in the industry. And I know I got a bunch of Friday the 13th performers that haven't done it yet, but they're definitely going to when they get around to it. But I want to get the industry involved. I remember when I originally did it, I wanted to get Emma Stone to do it, but chances are getting that out to her, and she'd be great doing something like this, by the way. But I thought, well, maybe I'll go after the people I'm actually talking to that are in the movies, because you folks are always at the conventions and you have this connection, and a lot of people watch those. And I want to throw the Doubtfire Challenge out to you.
I'm loving it. Let's do it.
Yes, I want you to do one. Maybe you could do one for sugar babies. I don't know. You could drag your friend Sidney into it. I don't know.
We could just do it to each other.
Yeah, there you go.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I'm so down.
Yeah, I would love it. And you know, it's called the Doubtfire Face Challenge. You can nominate 3 people. And,
spectacular.
And if you know people in the industry, you know, that you think you could drag into it, hint, your mom, Amanda, whoever else.
Yeah, for sure.
Throw them out there. I think I might have mentioned this to your mom, and I think she mentioned the key to pie in the face is don't get it, or don't have your eyes open when it happened. I'm like, I wouldn't even think of.
And breathe in first.
Breathe in first.
Breathe in first. I've had a pie in the face before. So you breathe in first because your nose is going to fill with whipped cream or whatever, and so is your mouth. So in order to not choke, you need to, after it hits you, like go and exhale through your nose and mouth, and that way you can breathe. Yeah, so breathe in first. See, I'm a pro. Okay.
I did mine. Mine's up on YouTube, and I've got Lisa's and Nancy.
Great. I'll check it out.
I've got a bunch of them up there, you know. They're within the videos, and you know, I've had a few takers on it, but I like throwing it out to people that are either into charities involving illnesses, like mental illness, or comedians. And after watching yours last night, I was like, I have to ask you to.
Oh yeah, heck yeah. I mean, you saw all the grossness I'll do to myself. I'll cover myself in blood. I'll put pizza grease on my face and like all that. So I'm a human trash can. Let's do it.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'll put it up on my YouTube. My YouTube's not monetized, so I won't be making money off you or anything, you know. But
don't worry. Even if you did, we all deserve money.
You know what? I have a thing with that. I've had people ask me why I don't monetize my interviews, but I don't know if I could find a way to do it so that the people I interview get a piece of it, because my show would not be like, nobody wants to listen to me for 2 hours, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the way to do that manually would be to like count up how many videos get you what amount of money, and then cut people an amount of money in a check that's that amount. But that's also hard.
Time consuming.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
You're just doing it for the love of it, which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm doing it for the love of it, yep. But no, that's my big charity is the Doubtfire Face Challenge. And I
love that.
I loved shows like You Can't Do This on Television and stuff where people get slimed or pied and
yeah.
Yeah, and I used to love that kind of stuff, and I still do. Like, one of my favorite comedy scenes of all time was The Great Race, and seeing there's a big pie fight in it. But I'm going to tell you, the pie fight would not be anything if Natalie Wood, dressed as elegantly as she was not in it. I mean, you had, you know, Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon, and so many funny people in it. But the moment she comes in, all classed up, and she gets hit with that first pie. That's so funny. Yep. I love that kind of humor. So I've thrown that out. I've had a few of my indie interview people from movies do it. And like I said, I've had Lisa Langwa and Nancy McLaughlin have done it, and I'm waiting for some others as well. So I had to throw that out to you. So
yeah, I'm so in.
Yeah, you've done it. You've taken a pie in the face before.
Yeah. It was when we were in high school. That's how we had to get initiated into the varsity part of our comedy sports team. So yeah, and then so a lot of experience with that, and it's definitely, you know, you just got to make sure whatever you use isn't hard, you got to use like a whipped cream pie or like something that's more like, you use like a really hard stale pumpkin pie, you're going to hurt your nose. But besides that, you're probably fine.
There you go. Well, yeah, I love that kind of humor, and I wish we'd see more of it,
Yeah.
Yep. I'm a sucker for slapstick stuff like Monty Python, Airplane,
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh yeah, Airplane's so friggin' funny.
So friggin' funny. I can watch stuff like that all day. The Pink Panther, stuff like that is all perfect stuff. And I want to see you do more stuff like that because, like I said, we don't see enough women do stuff. Could you imagine a female Monty Python?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think it would be fantastic. And
yeah, that's like a very fun idea.
That would be very fun. Like, I think Kate McKinnon's one of the funniest comedians working right now.
Yeah, she's super, super funny.
And she's very talented. So it's kind of like, when I hear people say women can't be funny, I'm like, really? Seriously? I think women are hysterical. Maybe it's because I'm not dating.
Yeah, whoever's saying women can't be funny is angry at one specific woman in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And is taking it out on a lot of people.
Absolutely. But what's your, I meant to ask you, what? I was going to ask you, what's your feature film going to be called?
Right now, the working title is This Gets Rough. Rough is spelled like a R-U-F-F because the old teen show that it centers around is about a family of dogs that gets turned into people by a genie.
Okay.
So, but it's like also a movie that does get really rough. Like it does get kind of dark and kind of, it deals with a lot of issues like, like depression and like self-loathing and self-harm and stuff, but in a way that you really don't expect because it's so like kind of kooky and broad at the beginning. And but like, it's a really, really dark comedy. And I mean, it's definitely a comedy first and foremost and dark secondarily, but it does get rough. And actually my mom and I, we were brainstorming titles because originally it was called Saving the Wolfersteins, which was like my working title when I was in college. And then a lot of the investors for the film are from China, and they apparently were just like, these aren't words. we can't pronounce these aren't even words. And I was like, okay, yeah, fair. And Kim was like, can you give me a title that's made of words? And I was like, yeah. And so I was joking around with my mom trying to come up with a title, and I was like saying something, and I go like, yeah, I mean, it does get really rough, like referring to the movie, and my mom was like, oh my God, you just made a dog pun. And I was like, I swear to God, I did not mean to make a dog pun. I'm so sorry. And then we were like, well, might as well. So yeah, so right now, according to the internet and all that, it's called This Gets Rough. And yeah.
Wow. So, so your first feature film.
Yeah.
Perfect. And you start filming next March.
Yep. According to all the current knowledge I have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so,
and you're starring in it.
That could be the case. Yeah. And you'll see when I do it, it's, I really like to put myself in terrible situations because I think it's funny, like in the sketch where I'm covered in blood and stuff. So I'm just going to be like I've told people like, we haven't moved forward with this part of production yet, but like, I just want everything to look really, really good. And I want everyone to look really, really bad.
Are you going to be carrying a banana?
I want it to look like they're all realistically kidnapped. Because I think that'll make something. I think it'll make it funnier. If it's oddly, like, you have to balance out which parts are more cartoonish and which parts are more realistic to like find a medium that's like disturbingly funny.
Are you going to be carrying a banana in it or have the llama?
Yeah, the whole time. I'm going to have banana stapled to my hand.
Speaking of kidnap, you and Sidney did a video where you were kidnapped and you were annoying your kidnapper.
Yeah, I love kidnapping. Actually, what's funny is that Sidney came up with a play idea a while back and wrote a couple scenes from it about 2 teen stars getting kidnapped. And I also came up with my idea about an ex-Disney cast getting kidnapped, and completely independently of each other,
Mm-hmm.
because we're have the same brain a lot of the time, and we also, we that sketch was mostly because whenever Sidney and I get together in the same room as a straight white man,
Mm-hmm.
we just kind of irritate the shit out of them in a funny way.
Mm-hmm.
It's this big inside joke that they know they're kind of not a part of, and it's loving, but we have girls' nights with guys,
Mm-hmm.
our friends who are 30-year-old guys, and we'll have them over and be like, oh my god, let's talk about girl things and drink rosé, and we were just thinking how funny would it be if we were doing if we were kidnapped by a guy who was a kidnapper.
Mm-hmm.
And he was trying to make a hostage video. And the sketch was just all the outtakes from the failed hostage video, in which we are so irritating, just genuinely as we are, that he eventually begs us to leave.
I sat there watching this, and I'm thinking, what is wrong with this guy? There comes a point where you think that he would gag the both of you. He doesn't.
Yeah, he's just so... He's trying to get us to say the lines. My favorite part is, it's really subtle, but it's when Kurt, who's such a funny guy, he's also in Sugar Babies as Sidney's love interest, and he's friggin' hilarious.
Oh, but one of the Jakes?
What?
One of the Jakes?
Yeah, he plays a guy who wears a bathrobe and cries off mascara for most of the scenes he's in. He's so funny. But when he comes over with the script, and it's a hard cut, and I don't remember what's before, but there's a hard cut where he goes actually no, the line is and he's turned completely from a kidnapper to a director, and that for me is just such a funny, subtle way he did that. It kills me. It's just him being okay, so your line is, and he's previously wearing this skull mask and being all threatening. And then at the end, he asks us to leave, and we're both I don't think so.
Yeah, he's gonna call the cops on himself.
Yeah, he's such a funny guy. He is, number one, he is a very funny comedic actor, and he's a really funny writer too. But he plays a really good straight man, specifically against me and Sidney. He plays a good what the heck is wrong with you kind of normal guy against us. Which is really helpful too.
Out of all the videos you've done, what's the most difficult thing you've come across to have to do or during filming any of your videos?
That's a good question. Let's see. Because I guess where my brain goes is things that we had to kind of sneak in and do. I know what was probably the most difficult thing.
Okay.
Because usually it's organizing actors who have their own lives, and it's usually boring things organizing everything and making sure that you can shoot all these scenes in one day. That's usually what's hardest on a day-to-day. But I'd say the most challenging thing I ever had to film was I made a movie when I was a junior in high school.
Okay.
And the idea was it was making fun of inbred royalty during pre-Enlightenment Europe. And,
was that the effing? Was that the effing?
What?
Was that the?
Yeah, it's the F-up. Yeah, it's called
the Royal F-up.
Yeah,
I watched it.
Yeah, the trailer is online, and the actual movie is 22 minutes and it's on Vimeo, and it's totally nuts. But I was taking this class that was teaching me all of this really messed up behind the scenes stuff for all this stuff that went down in pre-Enlightenment Europe, and it was so funny. It was so many people being inbred, and so many people who were it was just very funny. It was a bunch of really crazy characters. And I was I want to write a movie about this. And we needed a medieval castle or, a Renaissance era palace. And that's not really a thing anyone has. So I started looking up theme hotels because I was you know what? I bet that is how I could do it. So we found a theme hotel in Big Bear, which is like, gotta be like 3 hours away from where we all live. And it was like medieval, but the whole thing is it was like a romance cottage. Like we called it the sex cottage.
Okay.
Because it was only for couples. They had role-playing costumes like there, and only 2 people were allowed in the room. And it was in the snow. So first off, I had to organize like 20 people, both kids and parents, to come up to Big Bear with us. Not just one weekend, but 2 different weekends. And like basically some of the people didn't even really want to go that bad. We're just being really good sports, which I will forever appreciate. But once we got there, we had to sneak 20 people into a room that only held 2 people. And so we all wore the same trench coat. And what happened was, because it was in the snow, like I would walk in with someone and they would be wearing this big silver trench coat and holding some bags. And then I'd walk in, close the door, I'd put on the trench coat, I'd walk out, I'd go to the car and I'd get someone else and put them in the trench coat and walk back. So it really looked like there were only 2 people there. It was like me and whoever the person in the trench coat was. Mm-hmm. Although if you were paying close attention, you could tell that. Yeah, and so basically we had to film an entire movie in 2 weekends there. And like, Sara Chocolate was in it. She had strep. Like it was like nuts. But it was really fun. And that was like one of my favorite shooting experiences. And also probably the hardest thing I've had to do.
Oh, wow. You know, you mentioned 2 people in one room. You know what it puts me in mind of? I don't know if you've ever seen Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. But
no.
Holy cow, it's hysterical. There's a scene,
That's
of
so
course,
funny.
where all the military and leaders are getting together to plan a strategy to fight in the tomato war. And they enter this room, and the boardroom is just one big table, and people are like having to climb over the table to get a seat. The room's that small. And that's what it kind of put me in mind of.
That's so funny.
I can't believe you haven't seen Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Yeah, I should check that out.
You should check that out. It's friggin' hilarious. It's low budget at its funniest. We have the Trailer Park Boys here. Have you seen them?
Wait, the what?
The Trailer Park Boys?
No, why do I know? Why does that sound familiar?
They're from here. They've done 3 movies. And
That's awesome.
They did a movie called SwearNet, which is an attack on censorship. And,
oh, nice.
Yeah, it's got a record-breaking 935 uses of the F word in it.
Wow, that sounds like me on a normal day.
Yeah. Well, I had to address some online thing the other day. They're talking about profanity in movies, and they immediately go to the Wolf of Wall Street's 500 plus. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, really? Are you anti-Canadian? Do you not do your research? It says right here on Wikipedia that SwearNet the movie has 935. It knocks the Wolf of Wall Street out of the water. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's like double the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yep.
That's such a funny reaction. Are you anti-Canadian?
Yep.
Like, are you purposefully not looking at this?
Yeah. So it was SwearNet, but no, the Trailer Park Boys are your stoner humor. Very, very funny. And
yeah.
Yep.
That's so great. I should probably get going soon, but you are so awesome.
You were so awesome. You were so awesome. You know what, Olivia? I'm so glad that you want to talk about how things work out, because I was listening to your interview, the interview I did with Diane, and and when your name came up, I was like, oh man, I got to reach out to her, you know, and like I forgot that I was her first Canadian podcast. I guess I'm yours as well. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So,
Also speaking of my mom, one more thing is I wanted to plug Amityville, the Amityville Murders movie that's coming out. She's going to be in it. She's playing the mom. It's going to be the opener of Scream Fest in LA, which is like a big giant horror festival, and she's super super stoked about it. So I just like wanted to say everyone should watch that. I think it's coming to digital or something in like November 13th, whenever the anniversary of the murders is. But yeah, so that's like a thing that's very exciting for her.
absolutely. Well, you tell your mom I said hello.
I will.
Yeah, and poor Lawrence Monoson's going to be very upset to find out that he lost her to Steve Anton and now to a llama.
And a llama. And a llama wearing my dad's actual wedding necktie.
And please don't forget the Doubtfire Face Challenge as well.
Oh, yeah, I will totally do that. That's awesome.
Yep. And aside from that, I would love to wish you luck on your feature film. In fact, when you get when you get that done, come back on here,
Yeah, I'd love to. That'd be super fun.
Yeah, and we can promote that and
that's awesome.
Dish on the dirt on that. But before you go, I need to get you to do a plug for my show.
Great.
Shoot.
Hold on. So this is Olivia DeLaurentis. You're listening to Greg Gilbert's podcast, Python Paradise, from New Brunswick, Canada, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'll do that in a real voice now.
Okay. Shoot.
Oh, great. Hi, this is Olivia DeLaurentis, and you are listening to Greg Gilbert's podcast, Python Paradise, from New Brunswick, Canada.
Perfect. You got that spot on.
Awesome.
Well, Olivia, thank you so much for coming on here, and keep doing what you're doing, and especially stay funny. We need more funny women out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, we need more.
Yeah, you keep doing what you're doing too. You're awesome. I hope you have an awesome day or night, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, you take care and God bless you.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Yep, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.